Okay, so we began last video by talking about the good aspects of the love that is affection. In this video, we're going to be talking about the downsides. So, like with all the loves, C.S. Lewis describes the dangers of affection as the flip side of the positives of affection. They're a mirror image and often overuse of one aspect of the things that make affection great, or taking one of those aspects to its extreme leads to, flipping the coin from heads to tails, and now it's a bad thing. So, for example, some of the good qualities of affection that we talked about last time, right? A very humble love. It gives itself no airs. It doesn't really puff itself up and pretend to be good or better than it is, like friendship or even eros might do. It can love the unlovable, right? You can love an ugly duckling, you can love an ugly cat, you can love people who are kind of annoying if they're around enough and you just kind of get used to them, right? So, and it causes you to kind of like see the goodness in people that you wouldn't see otherwise. That annoying friend who, makes the same corny joke every day, you can kind of get to see the fact that, if you know that he's making the joke to be corny, then it can be funny. But then you take that, right? These are all heads. You flip it, and then it goes to tails, and now you're like, oh, okay. So it's a very humble love. It can love the unlovable, and it can see goodness when there isn't much to be seen, or goodness that you don't normally recognize. So why is that dangerous? Why is it dangerous to see goodness where we normally don't? Why is it dangerous to broaden our minds and to love the comically different? It's dangerous because it can lead us to think that this is a sort of godly love. That this is a godly love. That this might even be the love that God himself has for us. When it's not. It's not love himself. And that becomes very clear, right? It's important to remember with any of these loves that the rivalry between natural loves and the love of God is something that we dare not forget, right? St. Paul in 1 Corinthians cautions us to, if you can, he even said, you should avoid, I don't agree with him on this take, but he said you should avoid getting married because it might lead to you putting your spouse above God. And we'll get more to this later, right? But that's a general idea, where you kind of put these daily distractions, right, above prayer, above reading the Bible, above etc. So it's important to recognize that affection is not a recipe for a loving home. It is an opportunity for one. Lots of families feel affection for each other. That doesn't mean if you go into these homes that they're happy homes, right? And we'll get more to this later. I've said that a lot. But, parents can often, or children or friends or whatever, can often kind of overstep the bounds of affection very easily because it is that kind of humble love, right? You get affection without really deserving it that much, and you give it to people who don't really deserve it that much. And then that leads to the fact that because people are affectionate to people who don't deserve it, therefore not deserving it makes you deserve it, right? So it turns from, affection is unnatural. The love that you can have for somebody, the affectionate love that you can have for somebody, can be unnatural beyond deserts. Can turn to, I, therefore, without deserts, have a right to affection. It can turn from a reasonable expectation of being loved to a right to expect love. That is where the danger is. So you've got this kind of, that can lead into a thing where it's like somebody expects to be loved by you. Someone thinks they have a right to be loved by you just because other people are loved without deserving it. That's not true. And it can lead to them kind of resenting you and using tricks to make you feel guilty for not loving you. They can beg on their hands and knees, right? Metaphorically, for you to love them, right? They can hang out with you all the time. They can try to make you feel guilty for not wanting them to be around. And then every time you actually do come around to them and you give them a chance, they get defensive. And every single slightly negative thing, or even just random thing you say, is taken in a negative light, and they get defensive about it. And that's not fun. Or they always try to make you take their side in every fight. And that's not good either, right? And you just get used to this, and used to this affection, what should be a familiar affection, turns into a familiar loathing. It's the same thing where, like, you might have a friend who, again, let's get back to the pun example. Well, Jimmy Bob comes down the street, you say, hey, what time is it? And he goes, hey, time for you to get a watch. And you're like, okay, cool, that's the 20th time I've heard you say that. It only gets funnier, right? He's up to his old tricks again. It's kind of your friend. And then it's like, I don't know, you're at work, and you say, hey, what's the time? And then that guy who's always kind of annoying, who you don't really like, who seems to want to be friends with you too bad, even though you don't like him, he's like, time for you to get a watch. And you're like, dude, shut up. I'm about to swing on you, fella. So, you shouldn't be too optimistic about affection. Right? And you definitely shouldn't think that you have a right to deserve affection. You shouldn't beg for it. You shouldn't be on your hands and knees going, please. Right? Here's a great quote. If you want to sum up the entire red pill online manosphere community with kind of one quote, this is a quote from Ovid. Ask me who Ovid is. I don't know, but it's in the book. If you would be loved, be lovable. Right? And that's a good tip for any aspect of life. Like, if you want to go to girlfriend, think about, if you want to have a girlfriend, think about, what do girls like? And then try to be that. Not a D-bag, right? Don't go out peacocking, but think, hey, what do girls want? They want a guy who's, like, competent, has a job, he's nice, you know, dresses decent, smells good, works out, you know? Pick 2 of those things and do with them, and you'll probably be better off. Right? Avoid thinking this right here, where it's like, you know, you're a nerd named Timmy. You look at, you know, some girl dating a guy who you think is a jerk, and she's there, you know, why is she with that jerk? And the answer is, Timmy, because you're a dork and he's not. You know what I mean? Because he's actually attractive to women, and you're not. Right? And it might be a false attraction that will wear off when he hits his 30s and then gets a beer belly and starts to bald. But for now, if he's not actually competent, then he's at least faking it well enough. Alright, so he's attractive and you're not. That's why they're going after him and not you. That's a simple answer. Not that, you know, you should make obtaining women your goal in life, because that's, I mean, let's be honest. Who really, is that really going to make things better? Just getting with random women, you know what I mean? You're walking down the street. Let's say, hypothetically, you're walking down the street. Every woman you saw came up to you, was trying to sleep with you. Like, after a while, wouldn't it just be like, this is literally, you know what I mean? This is as annoying as, like, having to get up in the morning and, like, shower or like, eat 3 meals a day. Or if you're on the bulk, eating, like, 5 meals a day. So it's like, why am I even doing this? It's like, sure, it feels good for, like, 5 seconds, but then I'm just like, what have I done with that time? And, like, this is really what I'm going to pursue with all my resources, really? Anyway. Digression. Cool. So. Parents. Some of the most common haters that anybody has ever had. Your parents want, sometimes they want what's best for you. Sometimes they want what's best for them. In that they want you to be somebody, because they want you to be somebody, look a certain way, have a certain job, because the way you look reflects on them, your social standing, and whether or not they can brag about you to their coworkers and friends changes their social standing, and they try to get you to do something that's best for them, right? They can be some of your most common haters. So, and this all blends together to a point. Change of religion, especially if you grow up in, like, let's say, a fully atheist household, and then you become a Christian. You're probably going to catch flack, right? From your parents. They're going to be like, why are you believing that dumb stuff? It's not real. Quit going to church. They're going to use, you know, jealousy and needling and mockery against you to try to kind of draw you out of that. And there's two aspects of it. One, there's like a double jealousy there, where oftentimes, you see your friend really get into something really cool, or really like get a girlfriend they really like, or start working really hard at a job, and they start feeling good, or they start working out and they start feeling better about themselves, whatever it is. And you're like, yeah, but that's not gonna work. That's dumb. Why are you doing that? It's not really like that important. And then kind of in the back of your mind, you're like, but like, what if, for the sake of doubt, what if it even like maybe possibly was? And then that leads right back to, well, no, of course it's not. I'm gonna call this person dumb. And then that leads into an infinite cycle of like this kind of weird double jealousy where it's like, is this real? Are they being shown something that I'm not? And especially if you're a parent, it's like, why is this child being shown something that I'm not? How is that fair? I'm their elder. They shouldn't be given any kind of special sight that I'm not given. Right? And this isn't just a hatred of the dark, quote unquote, for the light, right? Not to call atheism dark and religion light, because trust me, religion and Christianity has its dark history. But even if you were a family of churchgoers, and this might be more common, a family of churchgoers, and then one of them goes atheist, quits going to church, you're honestly going to catch a lot of flack. A lot of flack. You're going to get ragged on by your family. They're not going to like the change. Same with, like I was talking about, habit. If we start working out, if you quit drinking, if you quit smoking, quit playing video games all day, you're going to catch flack from your friends. I literally saw this today. I was in the library, or like the food court, and these friends were arguing, and this guy was like, yeah, let me just finish my homework and then we can all play Siege together. And then the other guy was like, no, just after you get home, play with me and then do your Siege after. And then the friend was like, okay, but what if I just don't do that? And then the first friend was like, no, he was like yelling, like loud. He's like, no, you're a dork, you're a nerd, we're in college, what are you studying for? And like, he was like half joking. But that's the thing, it's like you're half joking, but it's like, are you really, like your friend tells you that he wants to do his homework instead of play video games, and you're going to take that like an insult against yourself, and then you're going to make a scene about it, and then you're just going to start saying dumb stuff to try to get him to not do what's best for him? Are you, like, is that being a good friend? Anyway, so, people don't like change. This leads to kind of rudeness and insults, jealousy, resentment, whatever. And the reason why people who think affection, who think they have a right to affection, are able to kind of get away with this without any kind of like guilt about it, they're able to rationalize it in their mind, is because they say, well, like what, am I expected to have like manners that I would have with a company with someone that's in my own family? That's obviously, I'm supposed to just act polite all day and act like I'm out at a private event all day, and like that's not good. You know what I mean? Then you're just being rude to your child. That's why and then you ask questions like, well, why doesn't my child ever leave their room? Why don't they come down to the dinner table? Why do they always go out to their friend's house? Maybe it's because every time they come out of their room, you're like, oh, look who finally woke up at 2 p.m. in the afternoon today. Like, dude, shut up. Shut up. You know what I mean? Reward the actions you want to see repeated. So if your child is coming out of the bed at 2 p.m., dude, maybe at some point you should just take that as a dub. And be like, oh my god, thank you for coming out. Do you want food? How much better is that than, oh my god, look who finally woke up. Look what dirty bum finally crawled out of his probably filthy room with his unmade bed, his greasy acne-covered face. The dork hasn't even taken a shower yet. You smell like, come on, don't be like that. Don't be like that. This leads to the child going like, I'm out. I know for a fact, and I'm not saying my mom did this, I'm just saying I did run away when I was a kid. And by run away, I mean I crossed the street, went into a little patch of trees, where there was a half-built treehouse, meaning that only the bottom was done, and then I sat in there for about an hour before I went back home, and I was like, I can't. This is too boring. I have nothing to do. I don't even have a book. I'm going back home. My girlfriend is actually a bit more of a thug than me. She won the battle. Here's how it works. If you run away and your parents have to come looking for you, then you've won. You've secured victory. They caved in. Right? If you come back home, then you've lost. So I lost, but she won. She walked so far away that she was on like a country farm. She literally left the property and then ended up, like her parents had to chase her down like 2 miles down the street. Or whatever. Like she made it far and her parents had to come get her. So she took the dub. She took the W. And here is the problem with the idea that we shouldn't have company manners at home. The idea behind company manners is that you are going in public, you are going to treat everyone around you as if you're putting them before yourself. And you're going to act like that's true. To act as if you care about these people more than you care about yourself. And that's how like public manners come up. At home, you actually are required. Like you can't just act. You actually have to put this person before yourself. Right? You have to. Or else the household falls apart. If everyone isn't putting everyone else before themselves, the household falls apart. Company manners imitate what is actually required at home, to put yourself last. Right? And I've had my own mistakes at this at home, with my girlfriend. Because the art of love is, I don't live with my girlfriend by the way, I mean home, like at Baylor. The art of love is that, an art. It takes some fine tuning, right? It takes a feel. If you're going to make a joke to your girlfriend, you need to do it at the right tone, at the right moment. If your girlfriend's on her period and I don't know, let's say, for example, you make a joke being, like, I don't know, she says, she meant Clint Eastwood, her parents were driving through Clint Eastwood country, and she says, hey, they were driving through John Wick country, and you go, hey, you dumb idiot. It's obviously not John Wick country. That's not even a country film. No, if she's on her period, not the right time to do that. Right? Let that one go. Let that one go. When you don't choose the right tone at the right moment, or if you just do it too often, that's my trouble. I can do it sometimes, but like if your girl is being especially sensitive, if she's had a hard day, don't really do that. If you're palling around and she's kind of having fun being a pig too, go ahead. But definitely don't do it too much, because even if you're choosing right moments at the right tone, if you're doing it at the wrong frequency and the wrong volume, it's not going to work. There's a certain amount of negging or like, poking you're allowed to do at your girlfriend before you just become mean. So don't cross that. Don't give yourself the beautiful liberties of affection that you are unable to use, that you aren't able to use. And parents often do this with their children, to come back to some semblance of a point. Right? They often give themselves liberties to use with their children for the simple fact that these are their children. So it's like, it's my kid. Don't tell me how to raise my kid. I'm in my own home. I'm going to do what I want because I said so. I'm the parent. Right? And then they give themselves the liberties that they can't rightly use. And they're able to do all this with a clear conscience and to conclude that they are being affectionate at the end of it, that they are caring for their child through the way they act, when their child would probably never agree with that statement. And not to say that a parent and a child always have to be in agreement. They don't. But still, don't be mean to your kids and then wonder why they don't want to hang out with you. So, another form of this is like the silent treatment. Being like, I guess if we have to act, all polite to each other all the time and we can't make any jokes, then I'm just going to be like really weird and formal with you at home or give you the silent treatment. That's the girl one, is the silent treatment. Because if you have company manners at home, then the weird thing is it reverses. Like if you go out and act like you're in your house when you're with someone you've never met, that's weird. If you go and act like you're with someone you've never met when you're at home, that's also weird. Like if you walk into a room with someone that you live with and you don't greet them, that can be weird. You're eating dinner, you don't say a word to them, they ask you a question, you don't answer them, weird. Weird. You're not making eye contact, you're ignoring them, you're giving them one-word answers, you're not being, you know what I mean? You're just being odd. You're acting like you're in public. You're acting like this person who you should love is a stranger. Right? Not a good feeling for that person. Right? My own struggle with this is I often try to use like the sales strategies kind of on my girlfriend, like persuasive techniques. And she can kind of get annoyed by that. And it's because like those strategies are meant to be used on a stranger, not on someone who you know personally. So when I use them on someone who I know deeply, it's just like kind of weird. And it's not like I'm trying to trick her or anything, but it's just be like, I'll ask her a question, which is like a leading question, and it's clear that I have something in mind or whatever, but to try to think of like an example, right? I'll try to convince her of something and I'll tell her a short story. So I'll tell her, you know, about the time I was in Sephora and I saw like a girl putting on makeup and being like, I have a new identity, I have to budget this, or I use a dumb metaphor about like, hey, if you were in school and the teacher wasn't giving you your grades, how would you even know whether you were getting an A or not? Is that a good way to study? I use some dumb story like that, and she's like, come on, bro, like, that's just, like, why are you talking to me like this? It doesn't even make sense. Right, I'm gonna end it there. We'll come back tomorrow, and we will talk more about kind of the art of love, and why these kind of wrong ideas get so ingrained in the minds of people everywhere, and even in myself. Alright, thank you, and check out my Skool account, link in the description.